Hello, my name's Carol Rosen. I'm here to introduce to you today a treaty that all of us can work on that can actually change the whole game that's causing so many problems and challenges on this planet, that's causing so much suffering, so much damage, and possibly the obliteration of the whole human species. That may sound a bit depressing and far out, but in fact it's true. I've been working on the space issue for world peace for a number of decades. I was a school teacher at first, and then I became the first woman corporate manager of an aerospace company. I worked with the late Dr. Wernher von Braun, the father of rocketry. In the process of my working in an aerospace company and then consulting to other companies, working in the peace movement, in the environmental movement, in the animal rights movement, I discovered that a game was being played, and it's aimed at weaponizing outer space. And why is that important? Why is this an important issue when we have so many problems on the planet? I'll tell you why. It's because it is the place, outer space, where we can transform the entire war industry into a space industry. I've been working in the last couple of months on a treaty that we named the Outer Space Security and Development Treaty of 2011. And as quickly as possible, you and I can work to get this signed. What's unique about it is it's going to put a lid on the total war industry while allowing it to transform into a space industry. It's the first time this treaty's ever been presented, so you're getting the scoop of it too, and we're hoping that this piece will go around the world. Please share it with everybody that you can, because it's a treaty that for the first time in history not only acknowledges the indigenous cultures, the cosmic cultures, but it has a place for the nation-state leaders of the United Nations to sign this treaty, to turn it into actual law. And all we need are 9 presidents of countries to sign it. This treaty is a combination of all the proposed treaties on space, of all the existing ones, of all the dead ones. The first 2 paragraphs are just the basic introduction, and this is what you're going to find on the internet too. And it is about the Outer Space Treaty that will ban space-based weapons as its major purpose. So this builds the framework and procedures to assure that space remains to be a neutral realm. That's the kind of first paragraph in this. And the second paragraph is that the treaty invites nation states to become signatories. It's the nation states at the United Nations that signs this treaty. That's who signs treaties. So the nation states will be the signatories to this treaty. This treaty invites all parties, including nation states and indigenous nations, and the cosmic cultures to be parties to this treaty, in other words, to witness it. And this treaty is a plan that will assist in the orderly development of outer space and implement a framework for what's going to happen in exploration and development of space. That means of all the universes. Reaffirm the urgency of preventing and destabilizing and threatening arms race in space. Next, we're going to recognize the agreement by this treaty to create a weapons-free space domain and ensure that cooperation in space is going to stop the huge sums of money that are now being spent into the war machine. It will now go into space, but in a way that the products and services that get developed and the jobs that are going to create them will be applied to solving the urgent problems on this planet. We're going to recognize now that eliminating space-based weapons is more easily accomplished before an investment or a further investment has taken place. This is confirming that it's the obligation of all state leaders, all of them, to ban space-based weapons. And that includes the intention to weaponize space. And this stops the intention as well to weaponize anything in space, the moon, celestial bodies, or the use of any space-based weapons technology at all. It reaffirms the urgent need for agreements on concrete proposals and projects deriving from confidence-building projects. This allows the technology that's being derived in space and the information that comes back at us from space to, in fact, be applied directly to, as it says here, advancing health, education, the economy, mutual security, energy, and the environment. We're going to acknowledge that we're not alone in the universes. Imagine a treaty saying this, acknowledging that we are not alone in the universes and that there are cosmic cultures that will be important allies for security and development, and that our national and international policies, our world policies that we're moving into, must reflect this reality. Acknowledge that from the beginning of the nuclear weapons testing, extraterrestrial craft have demonstrated a capability to selectively shut down communications or the power of participating operational units. And now in the next one, we're realizing then that the demonstrated capability of extraterrestrial cultures in itself is not a threat, but it is a message, it says here, of our limited understanding of physics and the clearly dangerous consequences of continuing to use these destructive technologies. This is the affirmation of the possibility of reclaiming a peaceful future for humankind and a safe environment on Earth for the children. So now we're moving right into affirming the possibility of reclaiming a peaceful future for humankind and a safe environment for the Earth, and how that's intimately linked, it says it right here, with curbing the violence towards each other and Earth, and with preparing to survive as Gaia, Earth herself, heals herself, and that counsel and support from the cosmic cultures thousands of years our senior would be exceedingly helpful. Every class of space-based weapons, including weapons of mass destruction or weapons that are precisely aimed at Earth or beings or dwellings or in space, that all of this is a symbol of fear, that space must be forever free of man-made hazards and must be a passageway to the secrets of our past and the challenges of the future. The parties to this treaty are inspired by the great prospects of Earth taking its rightful place in the cosmos and the citizens of the Earth realm sharing the future of their cultures with humankind. And so we're also reaffirming the prevention of the placement of space-based weapons will avert the consequences and risks to what we just described and the dangers to peace on Earth and to peace in space. We believe that the world cooperation in space will contribute to developing mutual understanding and to strengthen security. And it says here, based on new forms of verification and enforcement that applies the latest tools of technology for observation and information sharing, because cooperative relations build more trust and transparency. Understand that this space treaty is now verifiable and enforceable via applying monitoring, observation, information sharing techniques, which both exist and are forthcoming. And it says here that these parties to this treaty, that's us too, are inspired by the great prospects of the benefits and opportunities for stimulating economies, jobs, profits, products, and services to solve urgent and potential problems of humans and the rest of the biosphere. This recognizes that our space assets can be protected only by mutual cooperation and verification, and we affirm that this is the policy. This is the policy of the parties to this treaty, to permanently ban all space-based weapons, and that then we will proceed, it says, into space cooperatively. And so the first article says that each nation states signing and ratifying the Outer Space Security and Development Treaty of 2011 shall implement a ban on research, development, testing, manufacturing, deployment of all space-based weapons. It implements a ban on the use of space-based weapons that have the purpose, it says here, to destroy and damage objects or beings located in space or on Earth. Finally, each nation-state signatory, whoever signs this treaty, shall support and encourage other nation-states to sign and ratify it. After the first 9 nation-states sign and ratify this treaty, The Secretary General of the United Nations shall submit this to the General Assembly of the UN, and it is officially recognized henceforth as ratified law. Nothing in this treaty shall prohibit the following, however. It will not prohibit space research and development, just the research and development on space-based weapons, get it? It will not stop space-based ventures that are confirmed by what's going to be formed in this. So the Peace and Space Office is going to be formed so that no part of a space-based system can be a space-based weapons system. That's the next point here. Then it goes on to number 5, cooperative space-based ventures with any peoples on Earth or with members of any cosmic culture are encouraged. Article 2 goes into each nation state signatory to the treaty shall not base any weapons on any object or celestial body located in space. Permitted, however, is the establishment of space-based, even military bases or operations, military operations, but they are not of a weapons nature in space. So that's including communication, navigation, reconnaissance, early warning, remote sensing, and surveillance that does not interfere with operations of any satellites or with living and working in space or with any space ventures, provided that it can be verified. Okay? And then the next point under Article 2 is the use of military technology or personnel for peaceful space-based purposes that do not use any equipment or facility in space that's related to the research, development, testing, manufacturing, anything related to space-based weapons is not prohibited. 3 now, nation-state signatories to this treaty agree to the establishment and equipping and organizing of a United Nations Peace and Space Office. Next, the Peace and Space Office shall be composed of representatives from diverse areas, such as commercial, civil, entrepreneurial, and military sectors, working together, which they already do, except that now the game is to weaponize space. They will now check registration of space ventures and determine methods for monitoring compliance to this treaty and for verification and enforcement measures that will maintain the permanent commitment of all nation-state signatories to the treaty. Perfect. Next, the Peace and Space Office is mandated to monitor outer space, to verify, to enforce this treaty using the latest tools of technology. And finally, in Article 3, the Peace and Space Office will identify any entity or program that engages in activities that are contrary to the provisions of this treaty and will work with all the signatories to correct the situation via, not war, via cooperation and confirmation. Article 6. The provisions of this treaty that ban all space-based weapons shall apply, listen, to all nation states whether or not they sign on to this treaty. And the treaty enters into force, becomes law, upon the signing and ratification of the first 9 signatories. The treaty shall be subject to ratification by signatory nation states. Instruments of ratification or accession shall be deposited with the Secretary General of the United Nations. The treaty shall be registered by the depositary governments pursuant to Article 102 of the Charter of the United Nations, and this treaty will be of unlimited duration. This is permanent. We are done. We have banned space-based weapons, and our job as the people, as the youth who are reading this, are to coordinate any kind of events that you can, or do it as an individual. Start getting in touch with a world leader, a president of a country, get their addresses from the internet or send it in emails, make copies of this treaty, and just send it, send it, send it.